right away. Good afternoon, class. This is Miss Priscilla P. David, your OLC in the subject Purposive Communication. So for week 11 to 13, we're going to discuss lesson 4, and lesson 4 is all about what is a message. So as of last week, we were able to discuss module 6 to 9B, which is the evaluating text reflecting different cultures. So we had discussed the different types and the different kinds of sounds that not sounds, but signs, should I say. The different types or kinds of signs we normally see around us. And then we had also discussed what linguistic landscapes are. I also even provided you examples of what linguistic landscapes. And then for the last part, I taught you how to evaluate messages, images, and signs that you see in the environment. So for today, discussion would be about lesson 4, and as mentioned, it's about what a message is. So at the end of this module, you are expected to, so this serves as the learning objective, that at the end of the discussion as students, we we are expecting that you could already identify scenarios, instances, situations wherein you could use persuasion and argumentation. So for argumentation, you could use it in debate. So aside from debate, we also have for argumentation, we we also have the what I mean is that with argumentation, your main goal and your main purpose is to persuade individuals. So you are there to convince these individuals. You are there to make them believe in you. So with persuasion, so for this one, we could have it in real life setting, in real life scenario, like the upcoming election. So with the upcoming election, politicians and public servants would really persuade you to vote for them. So I'll repeat for this particular for this particular day discussion. At the end of the discussion, you are expected to identify situations and scenarios wherein you could use persuasion and argumentation. So for argumentation, for the upcoming election, politicians could use it for the upcoming election, and then for argumentation, you could use it in debate. And we also have persuade and argue information. So you have to persuade the audience. So how could you do that? So you could do that if you're going to present your major arguments. And when you do so, when you present your major arguments, do not forget to support it with facts, and do not forget to support it with factual information. Communication for various purposes. So your subject with me is purposive communication. So it means that we have different purposes and that we have different reasons for communicating with other people. So why is it that you are starting a conversation with other people? Why are you engaging yourself why are you engaging yourself in communication with other people? So why are you having conversation with other people? So as mentioned, we have different purposes and we have different reasons for doing so. And one of the purposes most likely would be argumentation. You're having argument with other people. With friends, we argue with friends because of or we argue with friends over little things, over small things, over silly things. So one of your purposes you argue with other people, it's because you want these people to believe in your own opinion and to believe in your own perception. And then we also have persuasion, of course. Your ultimate goal is to convince them, you encourage them, you motivate them, and you persuade them to believe in the things that you believe in. So I'll repeat, guys, we communicate to other people for several reasons and for different purposes. One, maybe argumentation. You're talking to a friend because you're having an argument over a certain thing. It might be a silly thing, maybe. Then you are also communicating with other people because you have this intention of persuading them, motivating them, encouraging them, and convincing them to believe in what you believe in. When we argue, we persuade someone to believe in our opinion or point of view. So you are really trying everything you can for you to make these people believe in you, for you to so you could really make this people believe in your own point of view and perception. But the question is now, how could you do that? How could you make these people believe believe in you? With that, guys, allow me first to define what do we mean by arguments and what these arguments are. So argument, essentially, when we say argument in academic writing, we uh, we simply refer to the conclusions that you are making and to the claims that you are having. So we're talking of your stand on a certain issue, and we are talking of your position on a certain issue. Do you agree with it, or you disagree with it? Are you in favor of it? Why or why not? So at the end of the day, when we say argument, we are talking of your opinion, your stand, and your claim on a certain issue. Now, what do you need to do with your stand? What do you need to do with your claims? You have to support your claims. You have to support them with reasons. You have to support them with assumptions. Most importantly, you also have to support these claims with you have to support such claims with facts. You have to provide factual information to the readers. Support this claim by means of presenting factual information to the readers, like you could use Republic Act as your legal basis. You could also use statistical data, statistical figure. You could also interview code, or you could also cite professionals who are expert in the said field of expertise. With that, guys, if you would support your claims with factual information, then you could really strengthen your claim and that you could also reinforce it. And if you were able to do so, if you were able to reinforce your claim, then it would be easy on your part as a writer and as a speaker to convince these people to believe in you because you have the supporting information. It's just like basically saying that you were able to back up your statement and you were able to do so by means of presenting facts and factual information. So it's like it's believable. The claim you had is believable. It's because you supported it with facts. This is why we need so much to debate, negate, and persuade. It has always been the purpose of an argument. Arguments are actually a day-to-day occurrence. When we say it's a day-to-day occurrence, they are part of one's life. They are part of day-to-day living. We experience them almost every day. Like for couples, they argue because of irreconcilable differences. So it means they could not really compromise with the differences they have. They could no longer manage this differences, and such differences really lead to arguments. And since they could not really compromise with the differences they have, oftentimes is that they really they would really like to separate ways, and that they really call it a quit because they could no longer compromise with the differences that they have. So such differences could really lead to arguments. And we know that we are all unique as individuals, and that is the reason why we have the phrase individual differences. So it means we have different point of view in life, we have different viewpoints, we have different perceptions in life, we have different notions of what life is. We see things differently, and we also perceive life in different we also perceive life in different light and in different aspect, and such differences really lead to what we call arguments. And with friends also tend to argue. You argue over silly things. It was just a small thing. It was just a petty little thing, but you tend to argue over it. Even debates in the country are also too common. They are way too common, especially now that the 2022 presidential election is fast approaching, and that it's just around the corner. So we are having our debate who to vote. We are having our argument of who to vote, and we have our respective bets, and we tend to fight for these bets. we tend to fight for them. Like when we argue this political figure is better than your bet, which really lead to argument. And as you know, guys, when we talk of debate in a debate tournament, there would always be two groups. We have the affirmative side and we also have the negative side. So with the affirmative side, they really have to contradict the propositions and the claims that the affirmative group are making. The same is true for those who belong to the negative group. What do they need to do? They need to negate, and that they also need to counter attack, and that they also need to cross-examine the propositions being made by those who belong to the affirmative side. So just like a certain story, they say that there would always be two sides of the story, and there would always be two sides of the coin. So in a debate, we would always, as always, there would always be two groups: the affirmative side and the negative side. And what do you need to do? You really have to win the debate. You really have to win over the hearts and the minds of this audience listening to you in a debate. The question is now, how could you do that? Remember, guys, your main goal, your main purpose is to persuade the listeners to believe in you. And you know what? If you were able to do so, then I guarantee you were able to win the argument, and you were also able to win the debate tournament. It's because you were able to you were able to convince the listeners, and that you were able to convince the audience and the readers. So the question is now, how could you do that? How could you win the hearts of the audience? So that is what we're going to discuss next. We can never say yes all the time, especially when we know that something in the sentence is not right, or it quite differ from the idea we tend to believe in. It's really difficult to accept the ideas of others when we have contradicting ideas and when we have contrasting ideas. It's also difficult for us to accept the belief of others and to respect it as well when we think in different ways. We think in different ways, and that we really believe to the things that we really wanted to believe in. And sometimes the belief we have might be different from the belief of others, which also result to argument. But that is actually your goal. That is actually your aim. You have to convince the readers to agree with you as the speaker and as the writer. It's just like you really have to give them the realizations that your point is better than the points that they are trying to, or it's better, the arguments that you are having is better than their arguments. So they should have that kind of realization. And if they are having that kind of realization, then little by little, you could really make these individuals believe in you. Now let us go back. So how could you win the debate tournament? How could you win the argumentation that you are having? In debate, we have what we call fallacies, logical fallacies in debate. And as a debater, you really have to watch out for these kinds of fallacies, and you really have to look for these kinds of fallacies, because if you could identify them, and if you could determine these fallacies, then tendency there is really a big chance, and there is really a big probability that you could really win the argumentation, or that you could really win the debate, and that you could really win the arguments, or the argumentation. So you have to look for logical fallacies. Logical fallacies are faulty reasoning. They are deceptive, false, and fake argumentations that could be proven wrong with reasoning. So for you to fully understand what logical fallacies are, allow me to give you a few examples. Allow me to give you numerous examples. For number one, we have argumentum ad hominem. So argumentum ad hominem means personal attack. So it means you are not really focusing and you are not really concentrating on on the propositions that need to be solved. So instead of discussing the proposition that needs to be solved, and instead of providing solution and resolution to it, you are busy attacking the other debaters. You are busy attacking your opponents. And when you attack them, it's on a personal note. Like you are trying to malign their reputation. You are also trying to ruin their credibility as well. So for instance, how could you how could you believe that the speaker, wherein in fact the speaker himself or the debater himself is known to be an extremist, is also known to be an extortionist. So you are trying to play the game dirty. You are trying to play the game dirty because your focus and your concentration is not on the debate, but it's more on attacking the speakers and the debaters personally just for you to win the debate. Guys, so the first example is what we call argumentum ad hominem. And then we also have argumentum ad vericondiam. So we tend to believe famous individuals. We also tend to believe powerful individuals, that we have so much respect with these people. That is why you go crazy when you see celebrities. And if you notice, if you observe, most of these advertisements and most of these commercials are being endorsed by celebrities. And we are easily swayed to buy the products that these celebrities are selling, and that this not selling, but should I say that these celebrities are endorsing and advertising. It's truly because they are famous. And we don't even know if these celebrities are really connected with the products that they are endorsing. And we also don't even know if these celebrities are also using the product themselves. But then again, although we know that there is also a chance, and that there is also a possibility that these celebrities do not even use the products that they are advertising, we also tend to purchase the product. We also tend to buy the product. Why is that so? It's because the said celebrity is known to be your idol. You emulate her so much, and you idolize her so much that she has the influence in you, and that influence could really make you purchase and buy the product. Although in reality, we know that these celebrities do not really have any connection at all with the products that they are endorsing. So that is argumentum ad vericondiam, which means we we easily believe people who are famous and powerful. And we also have argumentum ad baculum, which means appeal to force. So it means as a debater, you use threat, you use force, and you are blackmailing other debaters. You are blackmailing your opponents just for you to win the debate. So guys, in order, if you really wanted to win so badly, and if you really wanted to win the debate, then you really have to watch out for this. You really have to look for these fallacies committed by your opponents or committed by these debaters. The most important part of an argument is to persuade someone without losing credibility. We should provide solid and valid evidence. So if you are a lawyer, for you to win the case, you really have to back up your claim. You really have to back it up with concrete evidence. You should have your solid proof with you, and you should have your concrete evidence with you, so you could really convince the judge to come up with a fair and just verdict. Now, if you do not have the solid proof and you do not have the solid evidence with you, then you could never win the heart